Hello, everybody. Welcome to the post-Ohio State morning after recap, stats review, vibe check um, from irishsportsdaily.com. I am your host, Greg Flamong. This is a kind of a new thing that I'm going to try out here to see if people are interested in talking about the game the morning after. Like, I'm always wanting to wake up and, check the stats and just kind of go over the game. PFF always has their numbers up by now the morning after. The same thing is true with collegefootballstats.com. So we're going to go over that stuff. If anyone wants to kind of get out their final comments, we can do that here. For anyone who's tuning in afterwards, thank you for joining in. Just as a reminder, if you like the show, if you like the content that Irish Sports Daily is putting out, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And then we can get into it. Hopefully, this is informative for everybody, and then we can move on to next week. So, okay, so I was looking at PFF's numbers this morning, and obviously the grades weren't very good for the offensive players. And to be clear, like what we're talking about grades and stuff, first of all, PFF always does a regrade at the end of the week. So that's like on Wednesday or Thursday, they regrade the game. And so those are probably more accurate because, they're doing this stuff kind of on the fly, right? Like it's a late game last night. So who knows how accurate the grades are. So take these all with a grain of salt. It's just kind of processing it. The highest graded player on offense was Matt Salerno, which is not surprising considering he only got 8 snaps in the game. And one of them included like a really circus catch. So although his grade wasn't the highest or anything like that, his total offensive grade was 69.3, which is pretty poor. Followed by Michael Mayer, Lorenzo Styles, Braden Lindsey, Kevin Ballman, Tyler Buckner, Audric Estime. You don't get the first offensive lineman until number 8, which is Joe Alt. So it's kind of indicative of, the way the game went, right? Like Notre Dame did okay in terms of playmaking and that sort of thing. But from a blocking offensive line standpoint, it was not great at all. It's something I noticed. So Tyler Buckner only had 23 dropbacks in the game total. And I've seen a lot of comments about, why Notre Dame didn't get certain people more involved. And we talked about that on the live show last night in the instant reaction. You only have 23 dropbacks. So that's one, right? 8 of those targets. So that 23 dropbacks, 18 pass attempts. 8 of those targets went to Michael Mayer, which is obviously what we want. And then Braden Lindsey was targeted 4 times and Lorenzo Styles was targeted twice, right? So if you're not dropping them back very often, there's not going to be a ton of targets for any one player. And that's obviously a concern, right? Like that's part of it. Notre Dame only ran 48 plays. If you're not on the field, then you're not targeting your athletes, right? That's not very conducive to getting your team getting those weapons used in the kind of the proper way, right? Like I noticed during the game, like Chris Tyree didn't get his first touch until the end of the first quarter. So, if you're not playing on offensive, if you can't develop a rhythm offensively, if you're not putting together a bunch of first downs, then you're not going to get players. You're not going to get players going. So Jaden Thomas, Alakino, thanks for tuning in this morning. Yeah, I mean, so Jaden Thomas, funny enough, he was on the field a good amount. I'm gonna let me check the snap counts here, but yeah, he was out there a good amount. Let's just go over the snaps. So Jaden Thomas was 30 snaps, right? And so that's over 50%, right? Because the team's only out there for 50. So maybe that's a couple kneel downs or something. But yeah, so he was out there for more than 50% of the snaps. 17 of those running pass routes, but obviously not targeted. He was out there. I want to say, let's see. He was he got the 3rd highest snaps, right? Braden Lindsey went 43. Lorenzo Styles went 36. Jaden Thomas 30. So he only had 6 less than Lorenzo Styles. They used them quite a bit. It says here Joe Wilkins got 1. I didn't see that. Maybe it was I don't know. I don't remember that happening. Salerno got 8. So you're talking about 5 wide receivers get in the game. Tobias Merriweather obviously wasn't one of those. I would have liked to see him out there just because he's a threat, right? Like he's a big body, and then Notre Dame didn't have a ton of threats. But again, when you're only running 48 plays, it's kind of hard to get into the depth chart, right? Especially when obviously there's not a lot of plays, so like it's not like Braden Lenzy and Lorenzo Styles are getting gassed out there, right? Like they're pretty fresh throughout the game. So it's a fair point, and it's a fair comment by Al. I think I think everyone it was a frustrating game to watch, especially because it was winnable, right? Notre Dame's up 10-7 at halftime. You get the ball to start Ohio State gets the ball to start the third quarter, and Notre Dame holds them 3 and out, right? They got a punt. And so at that point, like you really had, like Notre Dame had a number of chances to put real game pressure on Ohio State on offense, and it just didn't happen, and that's not a good thing, right? Like it's frustrating because you had the opportunity again, right? And that's how it's been, from an offensive point of view in these big games is, the defense played well enough to win and the offense didn't. And that's obviously got to get cleaned up. Good morning, Pops. Stay off message board. Here's the thing about message boards, right? We all can be a positive, contributor to message boards, especially on Irish Sports Daily. So, you can, I would say take it all with a grain of salt, right? Like it's okay to ignore people who are obviously trolling, or people process these things. Some people are like actually well-meaning. It's just they kind of process their emotions through posts on message boards, and if that's not your thing, then you can be a positive influence on that too. So, but good morning, thank you for joining us. I see some comments from CMAC about Rocco, Spindler, and Carmody and that sort of thing. So here's the thing. It's a long season, right? And the offensive line did not play well. I don't want to put it on because look, I didn't think that any of the interior played well. I didn't think Andrew Kristofic had a great game. I don't think Zeke Correll had a great game. I don't think Josh Lugg had a great game, right? Like that. It was not good. You're under 3 yards of carry for the game. You run the ball 30 times. You're at 76 yards. Not going to work. It's something I noticed too. So, 23 dropbacks. That's a 39% pressure rate, and we are looking at we're looking at last. I went back and looked at last year against Florida State, right? Because everyone remembers. Jack Cohn obviously last year struggles with the offensive line and everything. And I looked at the pressure rate in that game. So Tyler Buckner, 9 pressures on 23 dropbacks. Jack Cohn was pressured 11 times on 42 dropbacks against Florida State last year. So that's a 26%. Like Tyler Buckner was pressured at a much higher rate than Jack Cohn was last year against Florida State. Like, from a numbers perspective, the offensive line performance was worse yesterday than it was in the opener last year. Now, obviously, Ohio State's a different caliber defense, and they've got more there, especially across the front 7, right? It's not just any one player. But Florida State did have Jermaine Johnson, right, and he was a first-round pick, so. It's not like Florida State had some bums up front either. So that's not good numbers, right? Like, and the other part too is, I think the impression I had is that Ohio State was bringing pressure. PFF only has Ohio State pressuring with blitz 2 times on 23 dropbacks, right? So they're getting pressure with 4 now. It wasn't that they were bringing big numbers. So that's got to be cleaned up. I'm not as mad as others, just frustrated. And again, we give number 2 country on the road all they can handle. That true point, right? And I we do need to take some positives away from this. Obviously, the defense is a big positive. Here's the other part. Notre Dame gave Ohio State all they could handle, and the defensive line was not the dominant force that we thought. I mean, if you told me Ohio State had 21 points in this game, I would have assumed the defensive line was a banger, and it's not that they were awful or anything like that. If anything, I don't think they won the matchup, but they didn't decisively lose the matchup on the defensive line. They did make some plays that they allowed the linebackers to make some plays in the run game, especially. But we didn't see dominance. I mean, that's just I'll just go check their pressures and see pass rush. Oh, so I've got PFF has them down for 8 total pressures in the game. 2 from Jack Kaiser, 1 from JD Bertrand, 1 from Howard Cross, 2 from Riley Mills, 1 from Justin Alamilola, 1 from Isaiah Foskey, right? And that's Isaiah Foskey, from a pass rush standpoint, was their lowest graded player. Not good, right? That's not going to work, and, 20 pass rushers generated 1 pressure, 1 quarterback hit. So his pressure percentage was 2.6. So obviously, if he's going to be Notre Dame's guy, if he's going to be their first round pick, then it's got to be better than that in a game like this, right? But you look at the result, right? And so you got to look at the defensive backs, right? And what kind of performance they put on. Let's just check the coverage grades here. I imagine they got to be pretty high, right? So actually they weren't. The highest graded player was Brandon Joseph. Behind that was Tariq Bracy. I thought Tariq Bracy played a hell of a game, especially as a tackler, right? So let's just put like in perspective, right? So sometimes you can give up you're giving up a high percentage of catches, right? Tariq Bracy, 6 catches on 7 targets, right? Doesn't sound good. 86% completion percentage, 22 yards allowed, right? The long he gave up was 6. I mean, you are giving up any sort of short route and you are making the tackle right there. I mean, that's tremendous from Tariq Bracy. He had to be a great tackler. He had to be a solid player in the open field. I mean, it helped obviously that Jackson Smith and Jigba was hurt, right? That doesn't hurt the cause, but it's not like we've talked about it all off season and all in the lead up and everything. If you're playing Ohio State, they've got a ton of guys. Bracy was from a true point. So it's just, he played a phenomenal football game, and that's what you needed, right? And I think everyone is super excited about the freshman corners. I don't know how they give out these grades or whatever. Benjamin Morrison, 1 of 3 against for 12 yards. He also had a breakup, a forced incompletion. I mean, he was out there a lot, right? So he was out there on 26 coverage snaps, or I'm sorry, 16 coverage snaps. Clarence Lewis, 26. Tariq Bracy had the most coverage snaps in the game. Tariq Bracy played the most snaps out of all these guys in the game, right? Cam Hart, 25 snaps. They had him down for not a great performance, although the underlying numbers aren't terrible. The play that really hurt him was the touchdown where he just kind of had a mental error, poor technique on the play, and then a mental error to look back when he wasn't in touch with the receiver. That was a poor play. And then he had the penalty as well, which obviously he doesn't want that. But what you're seeing here is you're just not seeing a ton of missed tackles, yards after catch, right? And that's the key to the whole thing. That Ohio State had 76 yards after the catch in the entire game, and that's great, right? Especially for a team that wants to throw for 300, 400 yards. If you're not allowing anything after the catch, that's going to work. PFF has them down on pass plays, tackling on pass plays, 2 missed tackles in the entire game. And that was going to work when I made the video for keys to the defense, right? It was like, you have to get them down, you have to get them on the ground, and Notre Dame did exactly that. They kept them out of the end zone on the end of the first half, which was a huge play at the time in the game, and it gave Notre Dame the lead going into halftime. So I think we all have positive things to say about the defensive backs. Let's see, part of the fan reaction. He was conditioned to believe it was the fault of 1 or 2 coaches. I think that's true. I mean, yeah, I would say that's right, because people like if one of the offense was a poor unit last night, right? So that's true. And I think everyone looks at it, it's like, okay, it's Tommy Rees's fault. It is his responsibility, right? So that's I guess kind of fair in that sense. I mean, he does need to be held to account for the way that his unit plays. Some of this, so I'm seeing talking about Tyree and not getting him a ton of touches, or not knowing how to use him. The thing is that when you're not stringing together first down, they only had 12 first downs in the game. You're just not, you can't develop a rhythm. You can't develop, you're not going to be using a ton of your athletes. Getting Tobias Merriweather on the field, right? Like developing a situation where he's going to be out there. If you listen to the live show last night, the reaction show, it wasn't I didn't like how they went about the first drive of the game when they hit Styles on the long one, and then they run 3 straight times, and Tyler Buckner did have an option to throw a screen out to Tyree. It's kind of a read play, right? Like you swing out Tyree and you have a screen to the outside, you have like kind of a bubble. And if he feels like that's covered, then he can pull and run the quarterback draw. But you run a quarterback draw on third and 7 or 3rd and 8, and that's either way you're running quarterback draw, or you're in a bubble, right? And that's not pushing the ball down the field. So I have bad news for you. He only had 1 catch. He had 2 targets, right? So that's that kind of goes to not being able to move the ball, right? Like, and not having a ton of plays to work with. Because like I said at the beginning of this, and again, thank you everyone for tuning in. If you're having a good time, please hit the subscribe button. If you haven't watched our shows before, hit the like button. Thank you for being here this morning. If you go back and watch it at the beginning, I talked about Mayer. Mayer had eight targets, and obviously we want him to get the lion's share. He's a great player. But yeah, you need. I mean, don't get me wrong. They didn't use Styles enough, right? They didn't get him the ball enough. I don't think they used Braden Lindsey enough, right? No jets from Lindsey. They used Tyree on a couple of jets, which I think were good. I didn't like the jet on 2nd and 18. I'll tell you that. I don't think most people did either. Especially when you had just gone down 14-10. You need to make a play, and you got to start pushing the game a little bit. You punt back to them, and then they go 14 plays and 95 yards, and basically seal it up. So, was it surprising to hardly see Tyree in the backfield? I was surprised early, but frankly, like they got him out on the edge. Let me just check his snap counts, because I want to say he was out there a good amount. And here's the thing, we talked about when Avery Davis went down. Part of that is going to be Tyree playing more in the slot. And so let me see here. I mean, Chris Tyree had 24 snaps, right? So basically about half of the snaps. He and Estime basically got the lion's share of the snaps from the running back position, right? So Estime had 26, Tyree had 24. That kind of tells me those two weren't out there at the same time very often. Let me see if Tyree was, how many times he lined up outside in the slot here. So he had 1 catch for 6 in the slot. So he was only in the slot 3 of those times, right? So he I don't know, man. I guess I don't know how they count the jet motions. I'd have to go back and check because the most slot snaps anyone got was Michael Mayer. He had 10, and then Lorenzo Styles with 8. So it was those two guys in the slot. I wonder how they consider like the jet motions and the trip stuff. I'd have to go back and look because my impression was he was outside a ton. Um, I think going forward we'll probably see him in the backfield a little bit more. But that'll see. That's a good that's a good observation there. Let me go back to some more comments. A lot about Tobias Merriweather. It's a natural question, I think, and probably fair. I would just go back to downfield shots. So here again, I would go back to it's hard to get him in the game. Like let's say you have a package for him, or not a package, but like a set of plays, or this is where we want him to come in the game and win, right? This is where if you were going to see him ever, I think the first drive might have been a good opportunity when you're sitting there in the red zone. And or at, when it was 2nd and 18, third and 18, third and 17, kind of in that fourth quarter, when you need a big body receiver to go up and kind of make a play when he might be covered, right? That would have been a good time for it, I think. But it's difficult because you have him, you want him out there, but Jaden Thomas was out there a ton. He didn't get one target, right? So I think to me it's more of like they have Matt Salerno out there, and look, he made the play. Like if that was Tobias Merriweather who made a play like that, like we'd be like, they need to throw it to him more, right? I think, Matt Salerno was given an opportunity and he made a play on the ball, right? Now, granted, it's tough for him as a former walk-on and that sort of thing, and he's not a recruited player, and we're asking him to make huge plays to beat Ohio State in on the road, right? So I don't know. He was only out there for 8 snaps. It's not like he was a major part of the game. And he made one play. So but they do need to get Tobias the ball for sure. They need to get him out there. You need to get more out of Jaden Thomas and that sort of thing. But I think we'll see that going forward. Obviously, that this is a one-game kind of scenario for the coaches, right? You plan for months for this game, and you do what you can. You do what you can. You put the best players out there, and you go. Let's see. We got a Buckeye fan in the chat. Give props to Notre Dame. Physical Midwest dogfight. Both teams didn't look just for various reasons. Definitely a brawl. See you guys around. All right, man. I appreciate the comments. It was a brawl. I mean, that's definitely true. The Buckeyes were the better fighter yesterday. So thanks for stopping in, man. I appreciate that. That's a nice comment. Let's see. We got a Clemson fan in the chat. Good. I'm a Clemson fan, but their defense does scare me. I'm impressed by Marcus Freeman. We talked on the chat last night, or on the video last night. For me, this game was a big, kind of a to me it was kind of a box checked for Marcus Freeman, right? Because when people say like, when people say this was the kind of the same old story. Right. Same old story. We've always seen it like during the Kelly era where they come out and they play well defensively and they don't have the offense. Right. Well, to me, the same old story is actually, in a way, like a positive for Marcus Freeman, because you don't want the program to go backwards. Right now, obviously, Notre Dame has games coming up that they need to win, right? I think, the question is always asked, how would Notre Dame have done if Marcus Freeman or Brian Kelly was the coach? And I don't really want to get into it for this game, but we kind of know that going forward, like all these games that they have coming up that they're favored to win, they would win, right? And so that's the question that Marcus Freeman has. But what you didn't want is the program to go backwards, right? And because Marcus Freeman has never been a head coach, right? And so we want to know, like, where are we going? And I think that the way the defense played, I think the game plan defensively was fantastic. I think they had those guys ready to go. And frankly, I thought the offense was ready to go from a mentality standpoint. They just didn't execute, right? They just got outplayed, but mentally, I thought he had them prepared. So to me, I thought Marcus Freeman kind of answered some questions in the positive for me last night. Which isn't to say it's a moral victory or anything. Like, I know people don't like that, and that's fine. But I do think that he showed some things last night to where I kind of a box check for me. So thank you for the Clemson fan for being in the chat. I really appreciate that. Let's Buckeye fan here. Y'all played better than people say. Y'all wasn't. I want to say y'all wasn't scared. I think that's where you're going with that. We did play. I mean, a lot of people, right? Like, I think a lot of people like the expected a blowout, right? I mean, Notre Dame covered, so but thank you to the Buckeye fans for showing up. I really appreciate that. Besides one Red Bull blitz, yeah, I didn't like this. I don't like blitzing the safeties, and I've always said I don't like blitzing the safeties from depth. You can blitz safeties if they're at the line of scrimmage or close to the line of scrimmage. They don't have as far to go. But when you blitz them from depth, the quarterback can look right at it, and it's right in his face. Like, you show the reap. As soon as they started creeping up, I thought, oh, please don't. Double safety blitz. It wasn't going to get home, and it didn't get home, even if they were unblocked, and the ball goes right over top, and you're putting Jaden Mickey in a really tough spot, right? It's a tough position for him to be in. He has so much of the field to cover, and obviously you want the blitz to get there, and it didn't, and if the blitz doesn't get there and they have time to throw a post like that, it's a tough position for him. But I think everyone feels good about, Mickey and Benjamin Morrison, especially, who played a really good game. I disagree. No, I thought the defense was fantastic. You hold Ohio State 6 yards of play and under 400 yards of offense. Like, that's a good job. I don't. That's the number one offense by like a number of metrics, and just what people kind of assume. They have 3 Heisman Trophy candidates, So no, disagree with that. Thank you for coming, though. I appreciate you being in the chat. So this is where I would pump the brakes a little bit. Defensive is elite. I don't know. We don't know that, right? To echo Alekino, the defense played great. They played great. We don't know that they're elite. You're elite when you do it over the course of the season, right? Like, so we do need to we don't. So you don't want to jump to too many conclusions offensively, and the same is true on defense, right? It has to be shown, right? The offense can improve, but the defense has to continue to improve, and that's kind of the thing as well, right? The defensive line did not show out yesterday, right? Like, you can't be an elite defense if your defensive line is not going to get pressure and they're not going to wreak havoc in the backfield, right? Only 2 tackles for loss yesterday. Like, that's not going to work. Oh, talking Ohio State defense. Okay, then that's fair. I agree with this. How he's holding 21 points. I don't know for sure when, but that's how you do it. We got another Buckeye fan in the chat. Let's check this one. Extra in the first half, good game plan. We made some adjustments halftime. You kept doing the same thing. That's the story. Yeah. I think. I mean, I don't know. Like, especially defensively, like there was the one drive that was a killer. The one drive that was obviously 14 plays and 95 yards. Like, that was tough. I think the defense wore down a little bit, which is somewhat understanding, right? That's going to happen to when you're on the field for as long as they were in the second half. So that's a good point. Let's see. Kyle, another comment. You guys have a good quarterback, though. He will continue to get better. We'll see. I don't have a super strong opinion about Tyler Buckner. Thank you for the words, though. I really appreciate that. Um, I, I I don't have a super strong opinion on Tyler Buckner right now. The only thing I'll say is I didn't think he played like the moment was too big for him. I just think that there were situations where he struggled and there were situations where he excelled, right? But I think he was aggressive. I think he played with an aggressive mindset. When he ran the ball, he was tough, so I don't have an issue with the way he played, but I don't know that I'm ready to um I'm not ready to kind of make a declaration on Buckner either way. But thanks again for coming to the chat. I really appreciate that. Let's see. This is a question for Jamie. I'll talk to Jamie about that. The thing is like I don't think there's any one thing that we needed to do, because it's not like what the defense was doing wasn't working. I mean, maybe, as the drive is going on, especially the game sealer, like maybe then, you need to load up a little bit more because they were just running the ball. But at the same time, like they've been playing so well, you know? So that's kind of the thing. We could talk to Jamie about this. And we'll see how that goes. And he can talk about that. No screen game RPOs. Agree. I thought there was more on the table there. I thought a lot of what they were doing was kind of like, I thought a lot of what they were doing offensively was you kind of, once the play started, it's like, oh, this is what they're doing, right? Like you could recognize kind of everything that Notre Dame was doing from a Notre Dame fan perspective, because we watch all the games, and I think Ohio State's watching all the games too. So there wasn't anything that I saw from Notre Dame that was, I thought, kind of like a wrinkle. I'd have to watch it again. I haven't watched the game back or anything like that. They rotated a lot of safeties in this game. I mean, the snap counts. I mean, let's just kind of go through it again. So Bracy got the most snaps out of everybody. What a huge performance from Tariq Bracy. God bless him. So Bracy got the most snaps. Maris Leofau got second most. Ken Hart, Brandon Joseph, 45 out of 63. That's a pretty good number. And the next safety after him, Houston Griffith, 33. DJ Brown, 32. Where's Ramon Henderson? 30. So basically you have Brandon Joseph, who's going to get the most snaps. So he had 45. And then the other guys, like, let's see, Griffith, Brown, and Henderson all had between 33 and 30, right? So they rotated those guys in and out of there a good amount. But Morrison, man, 29 snaps. Jaden Mickey had 6. Oh, I'm sorry, 12, 6 coverage snaps. So, I think sky's still the limit for Jaden Mickey. I think we all feel good about him. But Benjamin Morrison, I mean, Notre Dame really has him, and they put him on the boundary. You put him on the boundary against Ohio State in a big game, and they're going after him. I mean, that's they really feel they have something there. So, yeah. What did you think of Notre Dame interior offensive line? Not good. Not good at all. Let's see the blocking situation. Let's look at the grades here. They really like Josh Logue from a pass blocking standpoint. I think they kind of liked everyone from a pass blocking standpoint. Joe Alt, Blake Fisher, he did not have a good game according to PFF, but I don't know. He allowed the 1 sack, and there was a play that's a play that's funny. If you remember, if you guys go back to the sack that Blake Fisher gave up at the end of the game there, go back and watch all the sacks that what's his name? Jared Tillery had against Stanford at the end of that game. It was a similar play where the defensive tackle came up on the tackle. So he's inside of Blake Fisher, and he shoves Blake Fisher out and then cuts inside from there. So it's kind of one of those things like Blake Fisher doesn't know and then they loop around the end. So Blake Fisher doesn't know where he's kind of coming from. And what happens is you push up field so much that you can just kind of turn right into the quarterback. So that's how Jerry Tillery got a bunch of sacks there. From a run blocking standpoint, not good. Not good. So Jaden Thomas was the highest rated player from a run blocking standpoint, then Michael Mayer, then Chris Tyree. Incredibly, he probably only had a couple of blocks, 5 run blocks, and those are probably on design runs. But the offensive line, let's see. So the grades, we don't see an offensive lineman till the 12th rated player at guard, and that's Andrew Kristofic, Joe Alt. They're all pretty low. So from a run blocking standpoint, it was not good. Not a good performance there. That's got to get a lot better. Let's see. Morrison looked the part. Let's see. Great game, Irish. I underestimated you guys. Go Bucks. You know what's funny is, so I'm in the chat, and the comment that's, so all the Bucks fans. So we've had like 4 or 5 Bucks fans now come into the show and talk about how well they think Notre Dame played. Right? I was like, Notre Dame played great. It was a tough game. You know, we didn't expect it. Christopher Phillips says I underestimated, and then someone says Notre Dame is trash and always overrated. So differing opinions, right? And that, I don't think that's a Notre Dame fan. I don't even think that's a Buckeye fan, just kind of trolling the chat. But it's just funny how that works. Alakino, man, you're making good points. Please come on the show more often. You're making really good points here because it's only 1 week. There's so much. There's so much going to happen. Like Notre Dame is so much. Was so much different last year at the mid-season of last season than they were at the beginning of the year, right? Like there is so much to go. It's game 1 of hopefully at least 13. And Jamie said, like, look, if Notre Dame runs the table from here, right, they'll have a chance. Like, look, USC looked good. USC looked good yesterday. They're gonna be a highly ranked team. Clemson is obviously with their defensive line. I mean, that defensive line is if we had trouble with Ohio State, boy, whoo, that's going to be a tough one. But at the same time, too, you know, it's a long time to that game. You know, you just don't know where this is going. That's the thing. And look, Tyler Buckner is only going to get better. He's not going to get worse. Notre Dame is going to get better. They are going to be a better football team than they were yesterday. Okay, so we have a long way to go, right? So that's I don't know. Is this for me? If it at Greg 2126, if it is for me, follow me there. I'm posting all the time about the team and stuff. And now that the season has started and there's games that I can watch, I'll do so. I did a lot of like plays. Like you see a play and I'll do a breakdown with my finger and I'll kind of show how something kind of broke down or why it worked or why it didn't work and that sort of thing. And now that there's games and there's film out there, I can do that again. So I'm really excited about that. So if that's for me, and if anyone wants to know, I'm at Greg2126 on Twitter. Let's see. You know what? Amen to that. We're a lot nicer than Michigan says we are. Look, we said it a bunch. We said it a bunch. I'll respond to that in a second. We said it a bunch. If Ohio State is playing not Notre Dame, I'll root for Ohio State. You know, I don't have any problem with that. I'll never root for Michigan in any situation. Never. I don't think I ever have, and I never will. But I root for Ohio State against Michigan. So that's the thing. I mean, I don't. Here's the difference. Here's the thing that people don't view the lack of people don't view a meteoric rise and improvement as a regression, you know, and I don't want to get into it because it's like a whole topic within the Notre Dame community, and I'm not trying to do that. What I'm saying is like players get better. It's just that they don't get demonstrably better to the point where they are, you know, NFL draft picks, right? Ian Book was a much better player when he left than when he started. So that's all I'll say. So thank you for coming in and talking about the punter. So here's the thing. The first 2 punts from Sot, I was like, man, what is this? What is this? This does not look good. And then he started just some boomers. Like he was ripping it. I was very impressed. I mean, he hit some monsters. So I was good. I was impressed with him. Blake Groupie, the extra points look good. He had one chance at a field goal, and that had some good height. Went right through the uprights. Chris Fowler, what was he on last night? I mean, so I listened to the game on I kind of turn it down because I don't like it when it's a road game. I'll mute the game because the opposing crowd cheering against the team gives me kind of anxiety, so I always turn it down. But I did kind of rewatch it last night. Blake Groupie put that ball like right down the center. It was a beautiful kick. And Chris Fowler's like snuck it in there. It's like, what are you talking about? It's the same thing with the Salerno catch. Did he pick it off? Like, the guy didn't even touch it. I don't know, man. Tough time. Where do you think they put us in the polls? I think they'll be like 9th. I want to say they'll be in the top 10 still. They're not gonna like super fall though. Like, look at you play the number 2 team, you cover, and then you one side of the ball clearly played really well, right? To me, how do you drop them that far, right? Look, the number 2 team played the number 5 team. The number 2 team wins by 11. This is how it goes, right? Someone is going to lose the game. They're not going to fall that much, right? If the opposite happened, it's not like Ohio State would fall off the planet, right? So I think they'll be like 9th, maybe 10th, at worst 11th. Anything worse than that is kind of like unacceptable, and I don't think that should happen. But so this is a good point. Notre Dame kickoff return team. I mean, Marcus Freeman. Here's the thing. Marcus Freeman was not pleased last night. He was not happy with that. I mean, that was not good. I thought beyond the first 2 kicks from Sot, I thought he was solid. I thought our kickoff team was solid. We got a couple touchbacks, and then the first kick was like line drive right at the guy. That's no good. That's not what you want. If you're not gonna kick out of the end zone, it's got to be up in the air. Give your coverage team a chance to get down there. But that's not gonna work, man. And Marcus Freeman said, like, we don't clean this up, then we're just gonna have to fair catch it to get the 25-yard line. I just kind of don't like it's you never want to lose, right? But like Alabama loses all the time. It's not like losing is just like the worst thing could ever happen. Like Alabama loses a game almost every year, and not just in the playoffs or anything like that, right? Like they lost to Texas A&M last year, who was not great, right? Texas A&M was not as good as Ohio State, right? So like, and Alabama clearly has true national championship aspirations. You can lose games. It's just they got to get better, right? That's the whole thing. Is you got to get better. You can't. This can't be the apex or anything, right? Like the game is what it is. The game is what it is. You play the game. It went how it went. The defense played really well. The offense did not. It's got to get better from there. So mossing of the game. Yeah. I mean, that's fans, man. Like people say things all the time, right? Like it doesn't, it's not a huge thing. Fans are always going to say something. All right. So let's get going. Let's keep it going a little bit longer. Let's check out some more stats here. I think we have comments from the game. Position snap counts. Yeah, the snap counts are interesting. Just from my impression was Salerno played a lot more than he did, but he really didn't. I was too young to remember when Notre Dame won those games. I remember when Notre Dame won those games. I just it's okay. It's okay. We can. They didn't win this game, right? And they'll have other chances to win the games going forward. The other part too is here's the other part, and I saw a couple of comments in the chat about how they were trying to throw the ball with Tyler Buckner. And here's the thing: anytime they were off schedule, which was often, I mean, they ran the ball early a lot, right? It was a first down. They were running the ball a ton. Let me just check how many times they ran the ball on 1st and 10, because that was the thing. And you got to here's Notre Dame clearly thought they were going to run the ball on Notre Dame on Ohio State, right? First down, you have 14 runs on first down. Notre Dame only had 12 first downs. So it's like you're running the ball a ton, 10 times on second down. So you run the ball 14 times on first down for 3.5 yards a carry. That's the success rate there is not very good. They ran for 1 first down on first down and 1 10+ yard carry. So and then on second down, you're running 10 times for 31 yards. So you're actually getting worse out of it, right? And that's not going to work. Like you couldn't get behind the sticks in this game, especially when you didn't want to, you had six passing attempts on first down. And something else I wanted to bring up too is only 4 play action passes in the game. Like, I don't understand. Like, this is something that I don't get. And Reese did this a lot in 2020 as well. If you are going to be this team who's physical and you're in 12 personnel and you're running the ball all the time, then why don't you do play action more? That's what I don't understand. You have 4 play action passes out of 23 dropbacks, and you're dropping them back, just straight drop back like 19 times. Why? If you're going to be a running team, then you need to show the run when you're trying to pass. It slows down the rush, first of all, and second of all, it's a deception. Play action is a deception play. So Tyler Buckner's 3 of 4 on play action passes. Let me just get the numbers here. So play action. 3 of 4. Oh, I'm sorry. 5 play action passes. 18. So it was 5 of the 23 dropbacks. 5 were play action. Tyler Buckner 3 of 4 for 82 yards on those plays. Right, 20.5 yards per attempt. Now the opening play to Lorenzo Styles was a play action. Right, they had an inside run off an RPO. They blitzed the corner. And from the short side, Tyler Buckner sees it, pulls it, gets hit right in the face, which was a really good. I mean, look, he got hit a lot, so credit to him for that. Gets hit right in the face, and we know he got hit in the face because they called a penalty for it. And he hits Styles, who breaks a tackle, and it's off to the races, And so then that's a play action play that worked out well for Notre Dame. 7 of 14 on non-play action passes for 95 yards, 6.8 yards per attempt. I don't understand why we're not doing play action just kind of all the time, like 70% of the time. If you're going to be a running team, you need to do play action a lot. I don't understand why that's not happening. Bright spot on offense. I don't know. I thought, let's see. Okay. I thought Audric Estime ran hard. I thought he ran hard. I thought he got what was there. It was good to see Logan Diggs playing. I think that bodes well for the rest of the year. Beyond that, Mayer did some things that Mayer can do. Lorenzo Styles had really one chance and he made the most of it. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to take much away from the offense. There wasn't a ton. I didn't think the offensive line played great. We've talked about that. I mean, I think Tyler Buckner, the way that he competed and the way that he stayed with it and the way, he kind of held himself together. Like I said before, I don't think I don't think he was overwhelmed at all, so that bodes well. Yeah, Chris, I'll go over them again. I went over them earlier, but I'll go over them again because they're right in front of me. So let me just go back and check here. Offense. Okay. All right. So you wanted Styles. Styles had 36. Lindsey had the most. Lindsey had 43, and Tyree had 24. So Tyree was in for basically half the snaps. Lindsey was out there the most, pretty much, 75, 80% of the snaps, and Styles was out there for 36. So that's the information. If you wanted to, there is a way. There is a way. They need to have the ball more. They need to have more first downs. That's what they need. Because here's the thing. It's not that they didn't use him. Like, I thought what they tried to do with him, the things that they tried to do with him were good. They threw him a screen. They threw him some jets. They gave him some runs, right? So they used him in a lot of ways. It wasn't that. It was that they couldn't move the ball. Like, I didn't have a problem with, like I said, Audric Estime, I thought ran hard. I don't mind giving him carries. They were solid with the ball. No one put the ball on the ground, which is a huge thing. Audric Estime in his first real game action where he started the game at running back. So those are things that I'm encouraged by. They do need to get Tyree more involved. That's true. But I thought what they were trying to do with him was right. They just didn't have enough plays. They did not have enough plays on offense to really showcase any of these guys, right? Like, who do we want? We want Styles to get more touches. We want Lindsey to get more touches. We want Tyree to get more. Like, all these guys we want to have more touches for. And the reason they didn't get them, because they weren't out there, right? And when I'm saying they, I mean the offense. Offense wasn't out there. So that was that's the thing. So I think your head's in the right place. But I think it's when it's so many guys, it's just like 48 plays is not going to get it done. Coaches couldn't have been any more shocked or disappointed than us. The Harry Heastan Kool-Aid. Look, I wouldn't. This is the thing. That's just a truth. Okay, Jeff Quinn would have got eviscerated for this performance. Okay, full stop. He would have gotten crushed if he was the offensive line coach. True statement. Everyone knows that's true. At the same time, I would say, like, settle down, right? Like, there's a long season. They need to get better. I will say that for Harry Heastan as well. Settle down. I think they'll get it figured out. It'll be fine. It was not good, right? It essentially did not allow them to be competitive to win the game, right? You scored 10 points. Like, we were talking about, Ohio State. If they had scored 21, if we had known we were going to win the game, if you told me Notre Dame was going to score 10 before the game started, I would think it was like 35-10 or something like that. You cannot win scoring 10 points, not just against Ohio State, any big game. You can't win scoring 10 points. So, Holy Mare for 5 catches for 32. Yeah, I mean, there were some missed opportunities, but Ohio State played well. We're focusing on Notre Dame here. Ohio State played well defensively, no question. I mean, they were fast. They were moving around. They had a good plan. So, full credit to them. And to be honest, like, I thought, the Stroud missed some stuff. He had some throws and he missed. But that, first game, right? Playing against a good defense. So, one other thing about Buckner, and then we'll get going here, is the passing, the depth, and now on the off schedule plays, right? So you have 18 dropbacks, right? That didn't really result in like any off schedule passing play. It was either a deep shot to, like, on a go route. They hit Lindsey on one of those, and then they hit Salerno on the other one, and then they had the penalty to Salerno when they tried to get him up the sideline. Beyond that, they threw one pass, and that was to Kevin Ballman on kind of the design, like the fake pitch, and hit Ballman up the seam. They had one pass in between 10 and 20 yards through the air. They had one completion, 2 passes. Beyond that, you're not working not just the middle of the field, but like you're not working the intermediate area. And to me, like this is where Jack Cohn was really excellent, in between 10 and 20 yards, right? Not over the top, but between 10 and 20 yards. That's where he made his money, right? Like that's why he's in the NFL right now, or he was. I think he got waived, but that's why he got a chance in the NFL, because he's not a good athlete and he doesn't have like a huge arm or anything, but he was really good in that intermediate area. And I don't think you can be like a serious offense if you're not working that part of the field. You got to be able to work that part of the field, right? Like most of you have three attempts behind the line of scrimmage, and then you have 8 attempts between 0 and 10 yards. Well, Notre Dame's in 3rd and 8 all the time. You know, you need to be able to work those intermediate areas. And if they can't, that's a real concern. Like we're going forward, if they can't work those intermediate areas, then they need to, they're going to have a real problem. I mean, that needs to get fixed. That needs to be a part of the offense. We have another good, I appreciate all of the Ohio State fans coming in here with a good attitude and that sort of thing. Good game, Irish, great defensive game plan. Thank you to Daniel Henry. I appreciate those words. So we'll go back to Buckner. So that they have to get better there. You cannot be a good team. You cannot be a good team if you can't work those areas. There's you can only run so many gadgets, right? You can piece some things together. It's not like you'll lose every game, but you got to do better there. That's got to be a better situation for Notre Dame. Teddy from Texas looks like a 9-3 team. You later say that, which isn't bad. First of all, not an unfair statement. Not an unfair statement to say they look like a 9-3 team. I think that's fair to say. We do need to see where we go from here for the next couple of weeks. And you said that isn't bad. I think a lot of people would disagree with that. But that's okay. You know, what we are going to, if they come out next week and blow out Marshall, our spirits will change and everything like that. That always happens, right? The day after a loss, we always feel bad, and then you win a game, and all of a sudden everything looks brighter. So we'll see. There's a lot that needs. Obviously, there's a lot of things that need to get improved. There's a lot of things that need to get better. But we can, we'll see how that goes, right? Long season. So, I think with that, I'm gonna call it a morning here. Everyone can have a good Sunday. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. So here's the thing: if we're gonna get over 100 people, 130 people in the show, I'm gonna do this every week, right? I don't have a problem with it. This is the first time I've done this for ISD. This is my first game year with ISD. And if we're gonna get 130 people in the chat and watching the show, then I'm gonna do it every week. So I'll be here next week after the game, win or lose, it doesn't matter. I'll be here next week after the game, and we'll be discussing what happens against Marshall. If this is your first time checking out the show, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Thank you very much for tuning in. We've got a ton of content out. We have Matt writing gamers, we have Jamie writing gamers, we have Andrew Mentok writing gamers. Everyone's doing a really great job there. A lot of reaction, a lot of quotes and that sort of thing, press conference updates and all those things, right? So go check out irishsportsdaily.com. We got a lot of good stuff there. Be ready for Power Hour. I'm going to be releasing videos on just kind of game rewatch stuff, things we saw from the offense, things we saw from the defense, and then I'll preview the other games. So we're going to have a ton of content coming out. So you're going to want to tune in for that. So one more time, hit subscribe, hit the like. Thank you, everyone, for being in the show. Go Irish. We will talk to you again very, very soon.